Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Danny. I'm the owner of Amber & Oak, and I make videos here on YouTube about the behind the scenes of the small business world. I hope my tips can inspire you to follow your dreams and help your small business. If you're looking for ways to sell your handmade products, a pop-up shop, a farmer's market, a street fair, or any vendor event like that can be the perfect place to showcase your products while also connecting with the community. So, are you ready to make your first or next pop-up shop a success? Let's get into the details of what you will need to make this happen. If this is your first time doing a vendor event, there's a few things that are helpful to know before you go looking for the events to sign up for. Usually there will be a fee in exchange for the space that you're going to be selling your products in, and that fee ranges from, in my experience, around $40 to $300, but it can be higher or lower depending on the event and your area. The size of the space is usually around 8 by 8 foot or 10 by 10 foot, with the majority and ideal size being 10 by 10 foot, especially if it's an outdoor market. That way you have the perfect amount of space to pop up a 10 by 10 foot tent in, and then also set up a beautiful display for your products inside of it. Now, what do you put inside of your tent? This can feel a little bit overwhelming or daunting if you've never done a product setup before at a vendor market, but ideally you want it to be very easy to shop for your potential customers, and there's a lot of ways that you can set up your booth. If you're needing some inspiration, I would definitely suggest checking out Pinterest, and there's actually some Facebook groups that are very, very helpful. They're like vendor display Facebook groups where other small business owners will share how they set something up and people are asking questions. So definitely look into your online community for some inspiration. If you don't know where to start, I'll also put a picture of how I set up my booth on the screen during this video so you can get some inspiration from me if you need it. But this is really your chance to get creative, make it your own, and make your brand and booth stand out from the rest. In the past, I've set up my tables at home just to make sure I know what goes where, and the ideas that I had in my head would pan out practically for customers to shop the candles and dried florals that I've had on my table. So I would definitely suggest trying it out at home first. It really is worth the time, in my opinion, to set it up and play around and just do a mock setup essentially for your market display. That way, on the day of, you're alleviating a lot of stress and uncertainty that can hold you back from getting ready in time for the start time of the event. So you don't want to be rushing to the last second. Sometimes it happens and that's totally fine, but it is just so much better to know where everything is going to go and pop it up, because everything can be a little hectic on the time that you're setting up at, with all the vendors all doing the same thing, loading in and finding their spots to set up in. So just alleviate some stress, take some weight off your shoulders, and do a mock setup at home. I highly recommend making a checklist for yourself and anyone else who may be coming with you to the market to help you out, just so you don't forget anything and you know everything you need, and just go over the list right before you pack the car out. And I personally will pack my car out with non-temperature sensitive items like some tables and chairs the night before, so that the morning of it's a little bit less crazy. There's less things that I have to do and I can just focus on putting the candles and any other cash box merchandise of any sort into the car right before I leave, and it just makes things a lot easier. Another thing I would suggest doing is to load the car in order of the things that you will need first. So if you're going to need a wagon to load all your things to the spot that you're going to be in, keep the wagon accessible so you can pull that out of your car first. Just like things to keep in mind as you're playing car Tetris. Some of the must-have items for your setup will be a table or shelving to display your products on, chairs to take breaks in, a way to take payment, so change for cash sales or a card reader for card sales, and a tent if it's an outdoor event. You can get creative and DIY your displays if you'd like to. You can really make it a super frugal thing. You don't have to break the bank on your setup, but some things that I would not recommend cutting corners on or purchasing the cheaper option of is your table and your tent, because I've seen some things. They don't need to be top of the line by any means, but I'm just saying I've been to vendor events where a gust of wind picked up and we're outside and we all have our tents set up, and there's one or two tents that start lifting up and I've seen them topple over, knock into people, into other vendors' displays. People had to chase after the tent and catch it. You don't want that to happen to you. I've also seen rain cave in the top of a tent and damage the vendor's products inside of the tent. The last thing that you want is your tent to collapse and damage your products or another vendor's items. So much hard work goes into creating these things, so just find a reliable tent, make sure that it has good reviews, and test it out at home first. Never, 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 even if it's a beautiful sunny day, go without weights and stakes on those tent legs. I never do it. I always do all of the securing that I possibly can for the bottom of my tent, just in case anything happens. Don't rely on just plopping it and setting it and just walking away and calling it a day and saying it's time to set up all my products, and then it blows over and knocks things over. If you're stacking items and displays on a table, you want to pick a sturdy table that doesn't wobble around, and you can find folding tables for a pretty good price. They're not too expensive, and you can also put a tablecloth on top of it. So the table that I use actually is a beast. It is quite heavy, so not ideal for transporting, but it's very secure, whether we're indoors, outdoors, on level ground, not on level grounds, and it is actually covered in paint because it was a old craft table of mine. So I just put a tablecloth, which is actually a drop cloth from Home Depot, so a little hack. I wanted a more rustic, canvasy tablecloth look, and it was the same exact look as a finished tablecloth, but way, way, way less expensive to just get a drop cloth from Home Depot. And when that drop cloth is over my table, I throw a runner that has my brand name on it that's white, so it contrasts the color of the canvas, and then you would never know that that table is totally covered in paint splatters. So you don't have to go out and buy something new if you have a sturdy table at home that you're able to transport and use for your pop-up. You may be standing for long periods of time at this market, so I would definitely suggest bringing some chairs. I have some folding, low-profile, super aesthetic chairs that I got from IKEA. They are really narrow and easy to stack into my car. I have an SUV, so it just works perfectly. But before I had the SUV, I had a smaller car and they fit nicely in there. So I will leave those linked down below, but you do not need to go out and buy aesthetic chairs by any means. Anything for you to sit in that's easy to transport and load in and out would be perfect. Those baseball game camping chairs that just fold out and they're made out of cloth, and then they fit in that little sleeve that you can just sling over your shoulder and carry that way. Those are perfect. I'm sure you have one or two laying around, maybe in your shed or garage, or maybe a friend or family member does, and you can start with those. Anything to take the weight off, maybe to eat lunch or just a moment. I definitely recommend doing more standing than sitting, but it really depends on you personally and what you're more comfortable with. Some other must-haves for your pop-up event will be a price list, whether it's a chalkboard or a printed out framed price list so customers know. I personally, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but if I'm shopping at a vendor event and there's no prices displayed, a lot of the times I'll kind of get shy and I won't actually ask how much something is because I'm afraid if it's a little higher than I was expecting to pay or my budget for the day, I will feel bad not purchasing it. So that's why I always display my prices at my table so customers can see and decide privately in their own head if they are willing to pay that, and that just like fits what they are able to afford. So I definitely recommend bringing something to display your prices, gift bags, tissue paper, something for the customers to transport the items that they've purchased from you out and walk around the rest of the event with. You'll want to bring some business cards and some totes to organize and safely transport your products in. And how are you going to take your payments? Are you going to take cash sales? How will you keep that cash organized? I make sure to bring a bunch of small bills for change to every market I go to, as well as a locked cash box. I have the key to it. I can take the key out and bring it with me if I'm walking away, and make sure someone else keeps an eye on that cash box and it's out of sight. But when I first started doing markets, I actually carried my cash on me at all times. So everywhere I went, that cash was going because it was strapped to me on a fanny pack, or I had a pouch with me that I would carry, and that way wherever your cash goes, you are also in the same place, so you're never leaving it by itself at the table, which is also great. But I just find that it's easier to organize in the cash box now. But either way, I feel like whatever works for you is totally fine. They make pouch organizers to separate all the different bills to easily pull out and give the correct change. Along with cash sales, it's great to be able to accept cards as well if the customer prefers to pay with a card or they don't have cash with them. Square and Shopify have some card readers available, but you can do your own research to make sure you find the one that's right for you and your business. Both of those two platforms for payments that I just mentioned do take a fee, a percentage from the sale, just as Shopify does for every online sale. They do take it for every in-person sale transaction with the card reader. So just be aware of those rates as you are making sure your pricing is lined up with that, and just double check everything. But it's great because the Shopify card reader, I believe, will link with your online inventory as well, so you can really keep track of what products are going in and out that way. Most markets will require you to have general liability insurance, which is very important for vendors and organizers to have for a temporary event. Having this insurance provides protection against common risks during your market for the day of, and those can be bodily injury. Say a customer is on your booth's premises and they trip over something and they get injured, your insurance will help cover the legal fees, medical expenses, and settlements that may go along with that. Another risk would be property damage. If your equipment at the market causes damage to the property that you are vending at, then your general liability insurance can help cover the repairs or replacements for that. You're able to purchase general liability insurance as a standalone policy or as part of a broader insurance package. I have insurance for my business for product liability through the soap guilds, and they actually offer general liability as part of my package that I pay for every year. This way I can add markets and pop-ups easily whenever I want to my policy and provide the proof of general liability insurance to the event organizers very easily. You may want to shop around and just make sure the policy covers the type of products and the activities that you're going to be doing, as far as transporting goods and what type of products that you are going to be making and selling. Speaking of transporting goods, you work hard and you spend money on supplies for your products. Do not damage them in transport. Reduce the risks of damage as much as you possibly can. I know accidents happen and there's some risk involved in moving delicate and fragile items around, but if you get a nice sturdy box or tote for most of your items, you'll be able to feel a little bit better about transporting them back and forth, putting them in the back of the car, rugged terrain at an outdoor market in a wagon. They're bopping around on the way to the table that you're going to set off at. So I would definitely just invest in maybe some clear bins, like the clear totes that have the latching handles so that any moisture can stay out, because imagine you put your things in cardboard boxes just to keep costs down and then it rains and everything is soaked. So think about waterproof, think about sturdy when you're transporting your products. Another great way to transport your products and displays to your spot is a collapsible wagon. Now, I love my wagon so much. I actually use it going to the post office, going to UPS. It just comes in handy all the time for my small business for transporting boxes and products. So I will leave the link to my collapsible wagon down below. You can fit it in your car and pull it out, and then it just pops out in a second. You could just load up some things and go back and forth with the wagon instead of making way more trips just carrying things without being able to stack them in there. Now let's chat a little bit about your display. It's important to have a professional, cohesive look that reflects your branding. So this is your opportunity to provide potential customers with a shopping experience. Turn your booth or your table, if it's an indoor market, into your little store for the day. I personally love to use wooden crates, which I feel like are very classic as far as displaying products at any kind of market. I love the rustic feel that it gives, and it really matches my branding. I also am able to bring my candles up to eye level for my customers that way. I keep everything pretty neutral in color, which is true to my branding as well. And I have a waterproof banner that I put on the outside of the front of my tent. I used to put a banner on the back of my tent. I would put the one back wall up, and then I would hang a big banner back there, which is a great option. But I have since switched to a skinnier, longer banner that's very, very durable materials. And I also have a runner that's made out of cloth that I can just toss right over the center of my table, and it displays my brand name there as well. So customers can see it in two different places. They're not wondering they may be wondering what I'm selling until they get closer, but they know the brand name, they can see it clear, and that is kind of like getting into someone's head as they're walking past. They may remember that name going forward, even if they don't stop into your booth. I use Vistaprint for my banners usually, and they deliver, in my experience, a quality product. They're waterproof. I get the grommets, so I'm able to zip tie or bungee cord them to different places in the tent. So I would definitely recommend checking out Vistaprint for that. My mom also made me a candle display from scratch with wood, and she made me a business card holder from a foraged log. I keep a spot behind my displays where you can't really see too much for wrapping my candles up and bagging them up for customers, or if the space in the market allows for it, I will bring a second table and do an L shape and put some of my dried floral arrangements on that table and have that extra space to wrap candles on. I do switch it up from time to time, and I'm always trying to improve and make it better for the next event. I've also seen vendors bringing collapsible shelving units, so you can get like a literal bookshelf that collapses and folds into your car if it fits, and they set up their booth like a real store where they have all their inventory out on the shelves. And I've also seen vendors have like their own DIY wooden checkout stands with hinges that fold up. There's so many options to really customize your setup to make it your own. And it also gives a really unique shopping experience to anyone attending the market. There's a way to be different and let your brand really shine through with even just one single table though. You don't have to go overboard, especially for your first market. I think the most important part, none being better than the other as far as displays go, would be just to stand out enough to get potential customers, people walking around, curious enough to be interested in coming into your booth. How do you know if it's worth signing up for a market? How do you pick which one to pay for a spot at? This is something that to me always kind of feels a little bit like taking a chance or a gamble and putting a lot of trust in the event organizer to market and get the word out enough to make it a successful event where there's enough foot traffic to have these vendors make enough sales for the table that you're paying for. So it can be a little bit nerve-wracking or taking a chance, but it's kind of part of the process. And even though it does take a lot of your time and money to prepare and set up for the market and do the market, all the hours, maybe in the heat while you're there, setting up, loading in, breaking down, it is worth it, in my opinion, for the exposure, the experience, and the possible connections that can come out of it. For the best possible chance of success with a market though, I would suggest doing your research on that event. Has this happened before? Is it the first year, second year? Are you seeing it being advertised? Are they posting about it on social media? Is it in papers, print advertisements, anything like that? And asking other vendors who have maybe done this event before, and also talking to the event organizer. Ask questions, don't be afraid. This is something that I had to learn over time as I grew a little more confident, is to ask, what's the foot traffic expected to be like? Obviously, they can't give you an exact number, but they can maybe give you an estimate, and that also helps you plan for how much inventory to bring to this market as well. Is this an annual market or event? Is it the first time they're ever doing it? There's many questions that you can ask the event organizer just to gauge if it's going to be worth signing up for. Also, look into the area and location of the event, plus the theme of the event. So what type of people live near the area? What kind of demographic might be coming to this event? Kind of trying to decide if the guests would possibly resonate with your products or just walk on by. For example, if you sell and make book-inspired candles, it would be so ideal for you to pop up at a local bookstore or something like that, because those are the type of people that you're creating products for, who are going to understand your product, love your product, and you'll have those connections and bonds with, compared to just a general craft fair. Now, it's not always easy to find this perfect niche market that is close to your location, so you can go a little broader. Say you make natural soy candles. This is not as niche down as natural soy candles that are book inspired, but just natural soy candles with non-toxic fragrance oils, and you were to pop up at a farmer's market or a local health food store. Those types of customers who are more health conscious and want more natural products may be interested in your products. I always felt more comfortable starting slower and smaller as far as pop-ups go, and I've since graduated to doing larger events and being more comfortable with the social aspect of it, but that's just me. So if you feel ready to jump on into a large festival and you have all of your ducks in a row for the setup and everything you need for it, I would say go for it. Those larger town fairs or festivals and street fairs, they can be really, really great, if not just for many sales, but for lots of exposure and people to remember your brand name. Whether you're planning your first pop-up or you're looking to simply improve your setup and success at your next market, I really hope this video was helpful for you. I wish you the best of luck with your small business and many, many successful pop-up vendor events in the future. Some links to the products that I use at vendor events or even just in my candle studio at home while I'm making products will be linked down below in the description box. As always, thank you guys so much for being here, for supporting. Give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like it. Leave any video requests in the comment section down below. Subscribe to my channel for more videos, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.